Hello friends. So as promised, I wanted to show you guys how y'all can help with the shortage of medical masks by creating these fabric mask shields that masks can go into, and it helps preserve the length of time that that nurses, medical staff, first response workers, they can use these N95 masks that we are low on supply with in our country. So anyway, I think it's really intimidating sounding to a lot of y'all about how to sew. It's actually quite easy. In fact, it's so easy that I'm gonna show you how to sew these by hand tonight. So first things first is when you get started, you're gonna get a pattern that kind of looks like this. It'll just be something that you can, I'm gonna print off a bunch of these for those of you who are helping me, but otherwise I will also post the link to where you can find that PDF pattern. You want to print this at actual size, so usually printers go to like fit page. You don't want to do that. You want to print it at actual size. For those who I am not working with but still want to make their own at home. So once you print this at actual size, it prints off something like this. The pattern I'm using actually has 2 of these on it. But yeah, that's the biggest thing first. So print this off. When you're done printing that off, then you want to cut that pattern out. The pattern cut is going to look like this. So this is actually that first pattern. This is the pattern that I used to create the mask I posted yesterday, okay? So what I like to do, and a lot of seamstresses are going to get really upset at me for doing this, is I actually like to put this onto like a cardboard paper. And then instead of pinning the pattern, I just put this on the fabric and I use a Sharpie and I outline it and then I cut it. It saves a ton of time and I highly recommend people doing that. But anyway, I did that with this pattern already. So these are, and this can be anything like poster board. These are cardboard things for comics. That's actually what I use for as my bolts for the smaller pieces of fabric. So I've actually already cut out, and you can see that these are not flimsy. And they will last for a very long time. Should last for the duration of however long that you make the masks. Okay, so that's the basics for how to cut the pattern out. Again, very simple. This could work with poster board. Anybody going through me, I will give you a blank one of these that you can trace it on, and you just have to finagle it a little bit to make them both fit, but it should work. So like, for both pieces of the pattern, you would put something like this, then you would trace around them, and then you would cut out where you traced. And I like to transfer the markings on too, but you certainly don't have to. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna do is I have pre-washed fabric here. I have my outer and I have my inner, okay? Since it's pre-washed, I actually just took it out of the dryer, and I will do that I will wash it before I give it to any of y'all. I'm actually gonna go iron it right now, so pardon me. Iron is absolutely essential to have. I think I'm gonna show you the easy way to sew without a billion pins, but an iron is really what you need. So on the iron, I usually like to, for cotton, go up to the 3rd highest setting, okay? I'm gonna let that heat up. I don't ever use spray on fabric that I'm sewing. I just use steam. And so I like to make sure the steam is up, which mine is. And then I give it about 30 seconds before I start ironing. And the best thing to do is that it's gonna have a lot of frayed pieces from the dryer. You just wanna like lay it out as straight and as flat as you can. And it is only about a 1/4 yard that most of y'all will get, so that should easily fit on your ironing board. So now I have that plugged in. Okay, and it irons so good. It's not gonna be like perfectly uncreased, but it'll be pretty close. It'll be close enough for what you need for this. Okay. Okay, so, and see, that does not take long, but you can see that it is now, all the wrinkles are mostly out. They're out enough that you can work with this pattern, with this fabric rather. So you can see how it is before. So this is after I just took it out of my dryer. It's very wrinkly right now. Frayed edges, which are fine because those will just get cut off in the pattern. Okay, and I'm just gonna lay this as flat as I can. And I'm gonna iron, easy peasy. So, I mean, this is easier if you're used to ironing like collared shirts. This is way easier than that. Literally anybody can do this. See, again, didn't take very long. Look, very straight right now. See, so that's about a minute worth of ironing that you have to do. I like to just keep my iron out because you'll use it here and there while we make these masks. Okay, next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay out one of these. So this is the lining, which means that I will use the B cutout. So there's an A and a B. B is lining. I label it as lining. And so this is the right side up, and see how that's the back side? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fold it so the right sides are facing towards each other. I'm gonna fold it like that until I can get 2 cutouts with only having to cut out once. Okay, so here, hopefully you can see that. I have it laid down on that. You can see that it's double-sided. Now what I'm gonna do with my cardboard cutout is I'm gonna take a Sharpie, okay? And I'm gonna hold it in place with my hand, and I'm just gonna trace around right on the fabric. I'm writing right on the fabric with the Sharpie. I'm tracing right around the pattern, okay? And this is like kind of the way that a lot of seamstresses would probably go, because I'm basically drawing on fabric, but this is the part that will be cut, so it really doesn't matter. And we want to be as quick and as efficient as possible also, so that we can make as many of these as possible too. Okay, so just to show you, so this is the lining piece. I don't know if you can see that, but you can see right where I drew with the Sharpie onto the actual fabric. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 1 pin, safety pin works great too, on the inside right here just to hold it in place, okay? So that it's not moving and I'm not like I'm cutting both parts equally. Take your scissors and just cut as if you're cutting a piece of paper. Good thing about cotton fabric is it's fairly simple to cut. You don't necessarily need special scissors to do it. And yeah, it's really quite simple to cut cotton fabric. So I'm gonna cut that curve. The curves will be the hardest to cut, but they don't have to be perfect. Again, you can see that mine kind of have weird edges. We're actually gonna sew inside of it, so the edges don't have to be perfect either. Okay, and then just cut that last edge right here. These are not sewing scissors that I'm using, so I'm just showing you even without sewing scissors. I have virtually no problem cutting this, okay? Okay, lining's done. That piece we're gonna put to the side. Now, I'm gonna get this. Now, you do wanna, like, with patterns like this where there's like an up and down, a lot of them aren't gonna be this way, but you do just wanna be aware of that. Again, you wanna turn the right sides facing each other, and you're gonna take the A piece on this because this is the outer side, okay? So, let me see. This one's kind of a funny shape, and you know what? This one may not be perfectly upright, but that's just gonna, I don't think that nurses and doctors are gonna care that much if it's not perfect. So I'm gonna get it just, this one's a little short, I'll have to fix that later, but I'm gonna finagle it a little bit. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna do it like that. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna take this, and again, your fabrics will be all the way around the cardboard piece, but you'll just, again, you will trace the A piece now. You'll write right on the fabric with a Sharpie. Okay, again, does not need to be perfect. Once you get that, you will take another pin, put it right in the middle so that where you mark doesn't move, and you cut 2 equal pieces. And yeah, we'll pick up from there. All right, I am back, and so now you'll notice we have the outer layer still pinned in the middle. You'll see that pin right there. Okay, and that's 2 pieces of fabric. Same with the lining, okay? We're gonna keep those pins in place for right now. And for this purpose, I am gonna use the red thread. Normally I would use a thread that blends in better with the colors that are on the material, but since I'm trying to show you guys how to stitch, it'll be easier to see with red. So first things I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna take a needle, and what I'm taking is called a sharp. Oop, and I just knocked out a bunch of them on my table. But they're in this package. You can get them at any Joann's, and they are excellent. They're my favorite to hand stitch with. Next thing is we gotta thread the eye of the needle. It's kind of out of focus, but you see where that little eye is, right? This is a little tedious. If you need to use a microscope or more lighting than I currently have, you can do that. There are also such things as thread things. Things you can buy at the fabric store that will actually help a lot with threading needles, make it a little easier. And they're usually about $2 or $3. So what I'm doing now is I like to double the thread when I'm sewing. Okay, so I have a 2 thread long, okay, and I'm actually gonna cut right here. So now I have 2 thread long right there. That'll just make it stay. That'll basically reinforce what you're gonna be doing with the hand stitch. So a little trick I learned a long time ago to make a knot, because you're gonna need to make a knot before you sew through the fabric, is you take the needle and you hold it with maybe like 2 inches, maybe 3, I don't know, just judge it. And what I like to do is wrap around the needle like this, probably about 10 times. And then what you do is, once it's wrapped about 10 times, you take them and you push all of the wraps on the needle down, grab the top of the needle, and then just kind of hold it loosely till you get to the very end. And that didn't work. Let me try again, hold on. Usually that works, that's kind of funny. Okay, so again, that didn't work either. Okay. For this, then, I will show you the other way to make a knot, which is just that circle, and then loop the end through the middle, just like that. Okay, and that gives you a nice secure knot. You're also welcome to knot it again if you want an even bigger knot that will make it even more secure. So there you go, there's my knot, and what I'm gonna do now is pull those threads out like that, okay? And then I'm just gonna clip close to the knot. You want the knot to stay on, so I usually clip about 1/2 inch away from it. So now you're ready to sew, okay? So I'm gonna take the lining first. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna sew the curved part only, okay? And you're gonna do that for both pieces. So I'm gonna start here at the base, and I am going to poke it from the bottom like this, okay? About 1/2 inch away from where you cut. And then just kind of lightly pull to make sure that knot is in place. And then I'm gonna angle it so you guys can see it. Just gonna follow about 1/2 inch. I'm gonna do about this much, so see how I'm putting it back down? And just pull it all the way through. And sometimes it'll get stuck a little bit, and that's fine, just kind of finagle with it. There we go, okay. So, now we have that first stitch, right? So what we're gonna do next is we are gonna go, you know, I like to make them maybe like 1/4 inch apart when I'm hand sewing something like this. Poke it in, see, like that. And then where I'm gonna put it back down below is I am gonna put it just right above where the last stitch ended. This is called a back stitch, and this is very, very secure. Okay, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Mine's not perfect, partly because I'm showing you guys trying to do it upside down, but that's how you do it. And so I am gonna do that all the way along the curved, right like this, okay? Again, and then you just go right. You wanna kind of make sure that you pull it, make sure it's not scrunching the fabric. And again, put it right, when you're going back down to the bottom, you wanna put it right below like that, okay? So I'm gonna do this all the way up. And if anybody's interested in a faster way to backstitch, let me know. But for right now, I'm trying not to confuse anybody who's a newbie at doing this. Okay. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and do these on both of these masks right now. I'm gonna pause the video and I'll come back when I'm all done. Thanks. All right, so just so everybody can see, I finished hand stitching this side. So this is the front. That's kind of what it will look like. Obviously, I am not perfect at hand stitching either, but that's how it will look. The back will look a bit more messy, but you shouldn't have any snarls in it. But you know, that's just while you're sewing, you want to just keep pulling and making sure that it's not scrunching, because this would be an easy way for it to scrunch. So that's just something to be mindful of. But luckily you're working with a small amount of fabric. So anyway, I am doing the outer piece now, and that is my outer stitch. And I am almost done. So I just wanted to pick up again for you guys here, so you guys could see how I tie it off. So I am just gonna finish the last few stitches. So that's, again, I'm coming up through here like that. And then I'm matching right there. Do you see right where the needle's going in is right where the last one ended? And then this will happen a lot when you get to the end, where it'll almost try to grab your fabric. All you do, just slip a pinky in there and then just slowly go like that. Okay, and then notice, like, again, it can easily scrunch. I just like to pull it like that when it's done. Okay, I'm gonna do one more, and I'm gonna show you how to tie it off. Okay, one more, I'll do one more little one. Okay, all right, so now it is all done. We need to tie off the thread and cut it, because now we've done both curves, both the outer and the lining curve. So what you do is you flip it to the back side again like this. What I like to do is I like to take one of these kind of double stitches is what it looks like on the back side. That's just because you've been back stitching. And I like to just thread my needle through, pull it until it gets almost to the end. And then do you see these little loops right here? In the little loops, I will take my needle again and I will create a knot. That's securing it. And then I'll do that one more time. So I'll just go right here and then pull right to the edge right when you get that little circle and pull it through. And that is a very secure knot, as you can see. Okay, so now I am going to cut my, right after the knot, I'm gonna cut that. Okay, next thing you're gonna do is, now you see where it's curved, what we want to do is we want to clip little sections in here, but we do not want to clip all the way to where we sewed, because we don't want it to come undone. So to do this, the best way to do it is just like take the tip of your scissors, and about every ½ inch, mine are kind of dull, so don't do what I'm doing right now, but I'm just being very careful not to get it all the way to where the thread is. And about every ½ inch, you're gonna just make a little cut, a teeny cut, so that way that it curves a little easier, since this is on a curve. That's why you do this. Makes it so that it has more form, easier to stay in place, and it also doesn't wear on the fabric quite as much. Okay, so there you can see for that where I made those little cuts. Hopefully you can see that. All right, so we made those little cuts. I did the same on this side, see, and you can see that the cuts do not even get close to reaching all the way to the thread. It's really just to help that curve bend. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out this pin from when we traced it on both pieces, okay? And so now that's out, and now I'm gonna show you guys. Just like that, see? So that's the center part of the mask. This is the outer layer. Just kind of push in. You're not going to trim anything, because this allows for very, very little seam allowance, is what that's called. Same thing with this. Just going to, again, just kind of push out and you'll see that that's how it curves. So next thing we're gonna do is the ironing board. So I'm gonna come back over here. Make sure my iron is still on. Again, so we're not gonna go to the hottest setting for cotton. We're gonna go to the second hottest setting for cotton. Now, on the original pattern, I will show you guys, you see these little marks, and you'll get these little marks too. Just be aware of those marks. That's basically just the seam allowance. So I'm gonna take these with me. And on the lining first, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to iron about that much of the seam. So it's really about a 1/4 inch. I'm gonna iron that in on both sides. So if this is, here, I'll do the front for y'all. If this is the front side, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it off this piece right here. I'm gonna turn off that side and I'm gonna fold it into itself, wrong sides facing together. About a 1/4 inch. I'm gonna hold that in place with just my 2 fingers, and I'm gonna put the nose of my iron right there. I'm gonna steam that really quick. And you can also pin this if you're more comfortable with that. I like to do it on iron because it stays in place. So you can see where I ironed that down. So I'm gonna do it to the other side really quick. Okay. Okay, so that creates a little area that we have ironed down, and I'll show that closer too. You can do the same thing on here, except you will notice on this pattern that it has kind of like a, I forget what that word is, like it's like a 4-sided, but 2 of the sides are kind of turned in a little. So what I like to do with this is some people like to mark directly on the fabric, I don't. I just use it as a guideline. So what I'll do is I will turn in a little bit, and I'll bring the camera over here so y'all can see that, what that looks like when it's ironed in a sec. I'm gonna iron one side. I'm gonna iron this side too. Okay. And I'm gonna iron that seam allowance, which again is a 1/4 inch, after I iron the 2 triangles down, okay? Do it to the other side also. So again, if you have a pencil, so this is one of the areas where I probably wouldn't use a Sharpie, but if you have a fabric pencil, this would be fine to mark on the fabric. If you prefer that, I like to just eyeball it. I think that it's one of those projects where it doesn't have to be perfect. So I will show y'all what I just did. So I just ironed this down. Some people, again, will prefer to use pins. I don't prefer to use pins because of the small seam allowance. I think it makes it more awkward. But on the lining, I just folded in about a 1/4 inch on both sides, wrong sides facing together. And on the outer layer, it's a little different. So just like how we see that this has 2 triangles on that part of it, this is what it looks like when it's been ironed and turned in, okay? Again, the other side. So what you're gonna do now is, this is the fun part, after you've pressed it, you will rethread a needle, and you're just gonna, this doesn't have to be nearly as careful. This is more or less just to keep these in place. And this seam does not matter nearly as much as the curved seam does. So again, I'm gonna thread this. Thread this, double line it with the thread. And I'm gonna tie the knot. I'm gonna try this one more time, see if this little trick will work for this one too. Nope, it didn't. So I will just tie this again in just a circle knot, or whatever this kind of knot is called. I always call them a circle knot because you make a circle and you push through the tail. And I like to double knot it, but I think it should be strong enough even if you just do a single knot. Oh, and I got the knot. See, that's why that's kind of hard on that part. We'll get it close. Oh, that's fine. Again, this is not a perfect project. This whole tutorial isn't to show you how to do it perfectly. It's to show you how to do it. Okay, so on the outer piece, I'll do this first. So I've already pressed it down. They'll stay in place really well, how I pressed it. I'm gonna start from the inside, and I'm just gonna start at one of the corners. So I'm gonna start like right here and put it in right there, my first stitch. And I am gonna just get this done. These stitches I'm gonna make wider because again, these stitches are more just to hold it in place. They don't need to be as nearly as meticulous as the first stitches I showed y'all. They can be wide. The biggest thing is just to hold this type of pattern in place for the final thing. So again, and I'll show you guys how I'm doing this. I'm not even doing a back stitch basically. I'm kind of doing a back stitch, like a very awkward one. But this is really, it can be not haphazard, but it can be done fairly quickly. You don't need to be perfect on this one. It's primarily just to show, just to hold it in place. And again, like, so it would be easy, just as a caution, be easy to pull, and that you don't want to do that. So after you pull, you want to kind of stretch it out again. I'm just doing this really nice and quick. Again, this is all just about holding in place. So this part does not need to look pretty. So there I have sewed it all three sides together. That's just holding them in place. I hope you all can see that. And I am gonna tie it off now. I'm just gonna basically make a tie stitch, which is I'm gonna poke it through here like so, and then make a knot like that. And you can make a knot however you want on this part. But this is just how I like to make knots, especially when this part's not even gonna be seen. Okay, so nice and secure knot, and I'll be back. All right, so I have gone ahead and stitched the edges. As you can see, it does not need to be perfect, not even close. But that's how I did it. And I did it on these sides too, the outer layer right there and right there, okay? So next thing we're gonna do is we are gonna go back to the ironing board, which I know is so exciting. Again, I will grab my pattern, my A pattern for reference. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna make sure that iron is turned on. And I am just with the outer layer, okay? So just the outer layer on the side. So you will see, I wanna make sure you guys can see it. You'll see where we had already turned in. You'll notice these markings on the pattern, right? So this is where we're gonna fold further, and this will be the elastic, where the elastic will go. So again, some people like to mark this on their fabric. You're certainly welcome to. I kind of like to eyeball it just to see where it's gonna fold into. So with that I'm gonna make sure that that fold goes right to about here, okay? I'm gonna put this down for a sec to iron that closed. And these are gonna be where the ribbons go in for to tie the mask. Okay, so coming back here, I'll show you. I'm gonna put this back down. There we go. Okay, so what I did is I went ahead and ironed them so they stay into place. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna sew along those edges. But we're gonna sew as close to the edges right here as possible. So you don't wanna sew up here, you wanna sew down here. This will create a funnel for the ribbons to go through. So you'll just see I'm gonna come underneath right here, okay? Already have this tied and ready to go. And then again, you're just gonna back stitch it, really easy, right? So I'm gonna do that first one that is not a back stitch, it's just the initial stitch. So it'd really be helpful if I had somebody who could hold the camera up top. So now we're gonna start back stitching. Okay, right here. And again, we are only doing this with the outer layer. You will not do this with the inner layer. So again, go right there. Gonna finish this up, and I'll keep posting these videos on Facebook as I continue, okay? As you can see, this isn't rocket science, and we've actually already done the hardest part. All right, so I have gone ahead and made the little pocket areas for where the ribbon is gonna go through. Right there. But first, now that you know that I've done that, and you can just see that, so this middle line right here is just where it was holding it. So that's not actually where it was sewed down. It's the one closest to the edge where it is sewn down. And there is a pocket that we are gonna put the ribbon through when we're done with this next part. Okay. So next thing you're gonna do, very simple. We're just gonna put this face up like this. Okay. So see how it's just face up like that? Okay, next we're gonna do is we are gonna put the lining face down. So basically the right sides are gonna be pushed together like this, okay? And I'm gonna try to match this the inner seams right here. So this is where we will pin a little bit, because what we're gonna do next is we're gonna sew this top part all along the edge and the bottom part all around the edge. We are not sewing the sides. The sides are virtually done, okay? So what we wanna do is we wanna first match where that middle piece goes, so the middle on both, and they should have the right sides facing together. I am gonna put a pin right there. We want those to line up. So I'm just gonna put a pin to hold that in place. And I'm gonna do the same on the bottom part. I'm gonna look where we had initially sewed that part, and I'm gonna turn the seam the same way as the top seam. Doesn't matter which way you turn it, but that way it's just a little easier when you're sewing. Okay, so we have the middle pieces in place. So now what we're gonna do is I am just gonna take this and make sure the edges line up, kind of stretch it out right there. And you will notice the lining piece is much smaller than the outer piece, which is supposed to be that way. And you're just gonna line it up, and from that middle part, I would just place a pin maybe every inch along the top and just keep those in place. You don't need a ton, like I'll probably do 2 on each side. So like that, that's how I'm pinning that side. Do the same on the other side of the top part. Okay. So again, like every inch, so about 2 per sides and 1 in the middle. And I am gonna do the same on the bottom. So the bottom already has that pin in the middle where we matched it, okay? So again, I'm gonna make sure those bottom sides, those line up like this. You see how those line up? There's not, you can't see one of the fabrics over the other. That means they're lined up. And just make sure those are in place. So I'm pinning those. I like to pin perpendicular to the fabric, so that way they're easy to pull, and also I find that it keeps them in place a lot better than when you pin parallel to the fabric. Okay, so see how that's pinned the right way. We're gonna do the same to the other side. Okay, so we're using about 10 pins in all for this part. And if you go through me, I will get you 10 pins. So you don't have to go out and buy them. I'll get you 2 needles, 10 pins, get you everything you need if you do go through me. I do have a ton of fabric. There is no way. I probably have enough fabric, honestly, to make somewhere between 1,000 to 1,500 masks. So if you are committed to doing this for our healthcare providers, PM me and I will get you fabric. And as you can see, anybody can do this. This is a complete beginner project with sewing. So don't count yourself out, because you literally have as good as step-by-step instructions as you can get right here. I probably could do it a little better, but I'm just trying to get the basics out, and of course I can help you if you have any questions. So even if you don't have a sewing machine, it's not an excuse. I am showing you how to do this by hand. So when you're watching Netflix at home, or whatever else you're doing, you have some free time, this is a great way to help out and serve our community, serve our frontline workers who are doing the best that they can for us. and make sure they're safe and protected while they're taking care of this coronavirus for us. It's pretty awesome what they're doing. So we are happy to help. Okay. So again, we're just going to do the basic back stitch. So I am going to I'm going to sew here and continue sewing through here. And then on the bottom, I am going to sew here all the way to the edge. We are going to leave the edge piece sides open, okay? Do not sew these areas. I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick, and I will come back when I'm done. We're almost done, y'all. Hang in there. Hey everybody, I am back. So I just wanted to show you, this will be the easier side to see. Oop. So I did go ahead and back stitch, as you can see, the top, the entire top, and the entire bottom, okay? What I did not stitch, again, you'll notice, is right in here and right in here. So those are not stitched. So the next step to this is take either side, it doesn't matter which side, and you're gonna just turn it inside out. Okay, now it's actually gonna start looking like a mask. This is always my favorite, favorite part right here. Okay, so once that's all turned over, just kind of, you'll see there's the lining, and here is the outer, and I just kind of like to finagle it. So what I'm gonna do next, you'll see it's starting to look more like a mask, more and more. What I'm gonna do next is I am going to go iron. I'm gonna press it. So I'm gonna try, just so you guys are aware, when I'm pressing it, I am going to make sure that I press it as close to the seamed edges as possible, which requires you to play with, you know, getting the fabric just right. Use your fingers to kind of roll it. That's how I usually get as close to the seam as possible. This, you know, just spend like a minute going through, and then when you're ready, you're gonna go press it. So I am gonna go back up here, and just gonna, and you can also put your hands inside to press it close to the seams too. So that's another way. These are kind of nice that way because you can't do that on a lot of projects, but on this project you can. So I'm gonna get it as close as possible. And I'm gonna just press and steam. Easy peasy. And I'm gonna push the lining part in to make it like that cup shape. Okay, and again, just lining this, press that side. I'm gonna do the same on the other part of the top, okay? And you guys are gonna see, it'll actually start looking like a real mask. Okay, here we go. So, yep, there we go, perfect. So I will come back over here now, show you. This is the mask, okay? This is what will go like that. And so what the next part is, I have already pre-cut ribbon, but if you haven't yet, what you're gonna do is you're gonna do 39-inch pieces. You're gonna need two 39-inch pieces of 1-inch ribbon, okay? So what I'm gonna do to thread it through is I'm gonna take one safety pin, which if you go through me, I'll give you a safety pin. I'm gonna pin the safety pin. I like to fold over just a little bit. That way I'm not pulling the edge and making it potentially fray. Okay, just pin it through, buckle the safety pin. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find one of the openings, which there's an opening, and I'm gonna initially put just the safety pin part in. And now as you thread it through the tube part, you just kind of feel the safety pin, and you latch on with the other finger and you pull the excess tube over that safety pin, okay? And you just keep pushing it until the other end pops out like that, and pull it through. See, voila. Not too hard. Once you pull it through, undo the safety pin. You're gonna do the exact same for the other side. Gonna get those, and what I like to do too is I wanna make sure that both pieces of the ribbon are about equal once I pull it through. So you want those to be close to equal, okay? I'm gonna do that on the other side. And where's my other ribbon? There it is. So again, just safety pin. I like to double it over so it doesn't fray the ribbon. And again, you want 39-inch pieces of ribbon. You want two 39-inch lengths of ribbon. Again, on the other side, you're gonna find the opening, and I like to do this kind of by moving my fingers around. It creates a nice spot for the opening to go. Push the safety pin in until it threads to the other side. Pull the fabric part, not the ribbon, but pull the fabric part just gently over that, and then voila, just like that. See, this isn't hard. This isn't hard. Anybody can do this. That's why I'm making this video, so y'all can help out, and you never know too if we might need these. So it's a good thing to learn how to do, good skill to have. So this is, with the 39-inch pieces, it makes it enough of a length that anybody can tie this. As a last step, once I make sure that the ribbons are even on both sides, see, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn it back over. I'm gonna take, again, some thread here, make a knot there. Huh, it made a knot that time, finally, sheesh. Okay, so once I have it even on both sides, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stitch a big X, okay? So I'm gonna start on this side, since this is now the inner side, the side that has the lining. And right on top of the actual column where the ribbon is, you're gonna push the needle through the ribbon, okay? And I'm gonna go diagonal on this side, like this. And I am gonna do that again to secure. Okay, so you can see right there, that's gonna secure the ribbon in place so it can't move during wash. I'm gonna make another side of the X right here. Okay, and push through it just like that. Do that a couple times to really secure it in place, because we don't want this ribbon to move during wash. Okay. Okay, and then there you can see that it has a nice X right there, okay? And then you're just gonna tie a knot right here. I like to do a double knot. It makes me feel better when I'm hand sewing, but it's up to you. Usually a knot is fine. Okay, you're gonna clip just right above the knot so it stays in place. So yep, you have that here. That's gonna secure the ribbon in place. It's not moving anywhere, see? And that's important because these are gonna be washed a lot. I'm gonna do that to the other side again. Just right there, let me get another needle and thread, maybe. Here we go. Okay. And that one's already tied. Okay, so again, just making sure that both sides are even. I'm gonna make another X. I'm gonna loop that a few times. That extra piece off. There we go. So again, just loop it a few times. See, nice one side. Now we're going to do the other side. Almost done, y'all. And now there are other things we can do. For simplicity's sake, I'm gonna stop it here because this is the most important part. There is a way that you can put in like a little nose bridge. You can also top stitch this part so that it doesn't change, but anybody can iron that back down after it's been washed. So those are non-essential parts. But everything I've shown you is essential parts. So everything else is more just like if I were to sell these, I would do the extra steps. But for these, the important thing is to make sure that medical workers and medical servicers, that they're taken care of, and this will do the job just great. And I know they would appreciate any and all help. Again, if you want to help, now I've shown you how to hand sew these. Please reach out to me. I have so much fabric. I will give you fabric, even if you can only do 1 or 2. Like that helps. That helps quite a bit. If you don't want to sew these, please donate. I'm going to put my donation place, my payment info in the comments here, but that helps a lot too. That helps us so that we can ship materials to people who want to help but maybe don't live close to me. Also to ship to hospitals. We're not going to do this only for Utah hospitals. We're going to do it for any hospital that needs them. So a lot of hospitals nationwide need them. I know that I have enough material to make between 1,000 to 1,500. And anybody that wants to help, this is a great way to do it. And if nothing else, you now know how to make your own mask too. And how you would tie it is you would just tie it right here and at the base of the neck also, okay? And then if you wanted to add a nose bridge, maybe I'll make a second video on that too, but there's a way to use like a pipe cleaner, like so. You do about 3 inches of that and you make a little channel right here for that also. But anyway, now everybody should know it's really not hard to make this. We just made a mask. You just literally saw me live make a mask. And yeah, we would love any help. If you want to help, please do so. Thank y'all. Have a great night.